Welcome to my YouTube channel. Most people spend this coin every single day without giving it a second thought, but what if I told you that one specific version of the 1985 quarter dollar could quietly be worth an unbelievable $70 million, and it might have passed through your hands without you even noticing? Sounds insane, right? But here's the thing, the world of rare coins isn't about what looks valuable. It's about what hides beneath the surface, and this particular coin has a story so bizarre, so unexpected, that even seasoned collectors were left completely stunned when the truth finally came out. And trust me, once you hear this, you will never look at your spare change the same way again. And you'll definitely want to stick around because what's coming next in this video will make this discovery look almost ordinary in comparison. Now let's get straight into it, because within the first few moments you need to understand why this coin has reached such a jaw-dropping valuation, and it all starts with a rare combination of minting anomalies, historical timing, and a nearly impossible to detect error that slipped past quality control of the Philadelphia Mint back in 1985, a time when coin production was running at massive scale, with millions of quarters being produced daily. And yet, in the middle of all that routine, something extraordinary happened. A small batch of quarters was struck using a highly unusual die alignment error combined with a transitional metal composition anomaly that should never have existed in circulation, and that's where things get interesting, because while standard 1985 quarters are made from a copper-nickel clad composition, rumors and later confirmations among elite numismatists suggest that a microscopic number of these coins were accidentally struck on experimental planchets, possibly left over from testing phases or incorrectly mixed blanks, giving them a slightly different weight, tone, and magnetic response that only experts would ever notice. And for years, these coins circulated unnoticed, sitting in jars, cash registers, and pockets, completely ignored, until one sharp-eyed collector stumbled upon something that didn't quite add up. A subtle off-center strike paired with an unusual sheen that didn't match typical quarters, and that discovery triggered a chain reaction in the collecting world, leading to laboratory testing, authentication battles, and eventually, one of the most talked about private sales in modern coin history, where the coin's value skyrocketed into the tens of millions due to its uniqueness and the mystery surrounding its origin. And here's the part that really gets people: there isn't just one confirmed example, meaning there could still be more out there, quietly hiding in everyday circulation or forgotten collections. And that's exactly why collectors are obsessed with the 1985 quarter, because it represents the ultimate treasure hunt, the idea that life-changing value could be sitting unnoticed in your home right now. And honestly, most people would spend it without even thinking twice, which is kind of wild when you realize the potential stakes involved. And the deeper you go into this story, the more fascinating it becomes, because beyond the error itself, there's also the historical context of the mid-1980s minting process, a time when technological transitions and increased demand created the perfect environment for rare mistakes to slip through. And unlike modern coins with advanced digital quality control, back then, a lot of things still relied on human oversight, which means if something unusual happened during a production run, there was a real chance it could go unnoticed until years later. And that's exactly what makes this coin so legendary. It's not just rare. It's a piece of hidden history, a silent witness to a moment when the system wasn't as perfect as people assumed, and now, decades later, it has transformed into one of the most valuable coins ever discussed among collectors. And while some skeptics debate the exact figures and private sale details, there's no denying the intense demand and fascination surrounding this coin. Because even the possibility of owning something like this is enough to drive collectors into a frenzy, and if you're thinking this is already unbelievable, just wait, because later in this video we're going to uncover another coin that takes this concept to an entirely different level, and trust me, you won't see it coming, so don't go anywhere, because what's ahead might completely change how you look at every single coin you own. And as we continue exploring this 1985 p quarter, one thing becomes crystal clear. The true value of a coin isn't just in its metal, it's in its story, its rarity, and the tiny details that most people overlook, like slight variations in strike depth, edge definition, or even microscopic die cracks that can turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary one. And this is exactly why experienced collectors spend hours analyzing coins under magnification, searching for those hidden clues that could signal something rare, something valuable, something life-changing. And the crazy part is, you don't need to be a professional to start noticing these things. Because once you know what to look for, your entire perspective shifts, and suddenly, every coin becomes a potential discovery, every pocket change becomes a mystery waiting to be solved, and that's the magic of numismatics. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the 1985 p quarter is a perfect example of that transformation, from a simple everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar legend. And before we wrap this up, let me remind you again, keep watching. Because the next coin we're about to dive into has a story that's even more shocking, even more mysterious, and honestly, it might just blow this one out of the water, and you definitely don't want to miss it, because if this coin proves anything, it's that fortune doesn't always come in obvious forms, sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice, and if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 1969 quarter dollar. Imagine reaching into an old drawer, pulling out a worn-looking coin, and unknowingly holding something that could be worth a staggering $80 million, a coin so mysterious and so controversial that even veteran collectors argued for years about whether it should even exist. And yet here we are talking about one of the most mind-blowing discoveries tied to the 1969 quarter dollar, a coin that looks completely normal at first glance but hides a secret so rare that only a handful of people in the entire world even know what to look for. And if you think the previous coin was shocking, this one takes things to a whole new level of disbelief, so stay locked in because the deeper we go, the crazier it gets. Now here's where things explode. The highest estimated collector value tied to a rare 1969 quarter has reached an unbelievable $80 million, and that figure didn't come out of nowhere, it came from a combination of extreme rarity, minting anomalies, and one of the most fascinating error scenarios ever discussed in modern numismatics. Because unlike typical mint errors that involve simple misalignments or off-center strikes, this coin is believed to be connected to a highly unusual die pairing issue combined with a transitional minting inconsistency that should never have made it into circulation, and that's exactly what makes it so legendary, because when something impossible appears in the real world, collectors lose their minds trying to understand it, and that's exactly what happened here. The 1969 quarter became the center of intense speculation when whispers started spreading about a small number of coins showing design inconsistencies that didn't match standard mint records, including subtle doubling effects in the lettering, unusual spacing in the date, and in some cases, a faint but noticeable misalignment in the reverse design that hinted at something much deeper than a simple error. And as these coins began surfacing in private collections, the numismatic community went into full detective mode, analyzing every detail, comparing die markers, and trying to trace the origin of these anomalies. and what they found only made things more mysterious. Because the evidence suggested that these coins may have been struck during a brief and undocumented moment when experimental dies or improperly calibrated machinery were used, creating a perfect storm of rarity and confusion, and that's exactly the kind of story that drives value through the roof, because collectors aren't just buying a coin, they're buying a mystery, a piece of history that doesn't quite fit into the official narrative. And that's incredibly powerful, and here's the part that really hits. Just like the previous coin, many of these 1969 quarters likely passed through everyday hands without anyone realizing their significance, meaning there's a real possibility that more examples are still out there, hiding in plain sight, tucked away in old jars, coin rolls, or forgotten collections. And that idea alone is enough to keep collectors searching non-stop. Because the thought of finding an $80 million coin in your own home is just too tempting to ignore, and if you're starting to feel that curiosity building, that's exactly the point, because coins like this change the way you think about money entirely. They turn something ordinary into something extraordinary, and suddenly, every coin you see becomes a potential treasure, and as we dig something extraordinary, and suddenly, every coin you see becomes a potential treasure, and as we dig deeper into the 1969 quarters story, it becomes clear that its value isn't just about rarity, it's about the unanswered questions, the debates, the theories, and the sheer excitement of not knowing exactly how or why it exists. And that uncertainty adds a layer of intrigue that money alone can't explain. It's the kind of thing that keeps collectors awake at night, replaying possibilities, examining details, and chasing answers that may never fully be revealed. And honestly, that's what makes this coin unforgettable. It's not just valuable, it's legendary, and if you think this journey ends here, think again. Because even though this is our grand finale coin, the real story doesn't stop with what we've uncovered today. It continues every time someone checks their change, every time a forgotten collection is opened, every time curiosity leads someone to take a closer look, because the truth is, coins like these remind us that history is still out there, waiting to be discovered, and who knows, the next unbelievable find could be sitting just inches away from you right now, unnoticed, unrecognized, but absolutely life-changing once it's finally revealed.